Over the years, the Galactic Republic has seen many notable conflicts, often resulting in vicious wars. However, almost every time, the Jedi Knights, the guardians of peace and justice, would be there to drive back the threat. As such, the Order required the aid of its greatest strategists. One such master served during the Clone Wars. The former apprentice of the Council Master Yaddle and Grand Master Yoda, Oppo Rancisis was a lifelong member of the Jedi High Council, renowned for his abilities as a tactician, among the likes of Yoda and Plo Koon. Oppo would serve his Order and the Republic during many notable conflicts, such as the Yinchori Uprising, the Stark Hyperspace War, and of course, the Clone Wars. Oppo personally coordinated many battles and achieved countless victories. Unfortunately, just as the war took its toll on the Order as a whole, so too did it take a toll on Master Rancisis. During the siege of Seleucami, Oppo was attacked by Ansari assassins. Despite his extensive fatigue from intensive battle meditation, Oppo emerged victorious, but his distraction was exploited by the Dark Jedi Sora Bulk, backstabbing the hapless Jedi Master. His memory would ultimately live on, his service being documented by the Jedi Tion Solusar, and his teachings were adopted by Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order. The former apprentice of Lilith Tusis, Kukrok was born during the rise of the Empire era. He would serve alongside his master during the Yinchori Uprising. Unfortunately, his master's life was taken in conflict. Kukrok would complete his training under another master and took up a role as a Jedi General after the outbreak of the Clone Wars, even participating in battles with General Grievous and Asajj Ventress. Despite his doubts about whether or not the Order was becoming corrupt, Kukrok remained loyal, and his doubt was eventually pushed aside after a failed attempt to frame Jedi Master Mace Windu for the death of several Jedi at the hands of Sora Bulk. Kukrok would have many close calls, and even survived the execution of Order 66. Taking a group of Jedi initiates under his wing, Kukrok established a hidden Jedi enclave. After the Empire was defeated, he would join Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order, and he would even eventually become the Grand Master. He went on to lead the Order through yet another Jedi Purge, this time instigated by Darth Krayt. Time and again, Jedi Master Kukrok faced many trials and tribulations, yet persevered. His ultimate fate remains unknown.
Round 1.
Oppo Rancisis is a male Thespian. At the time of his death, he was 187 years old. As a Thespian, Oppo is distinguished by his serpentine-like body, lengthy facial hair, forearms with large claws, and of course a tail that is usually 2 meters in length, which could be used as an extra weapon. Oppo's only demonstration of physical output has been displayed whilst he was extensively drained, both physically and mentally. Yet despite this, he was impressive even in such a state. He was able to muster up enough strength to send an Anzotti Master flying with his tail. He has displayed some rather impressive displays of speed, appearing to move faster than his Anzotti attackers, and land several unarmed strikes against them, despite the fact that Anzotti have been described as untouchable. His serpentine body also appeared to grant him an increased level of dexterity and agility, as he isn't limited by the standard humanoid skeleton. He hasn't displayed any levels of durability, but considering how well he can perform while strained, it is more than likely that he was by no means frail. For the sake of this video, we will be observing Kukrok during his depiction in the Dark Times time frame. Kukrok is a male whippet, and as such possesses a substantially greater than human physique, being significantly taller and possessing enhanced strength. His biology afforded him claws and tusks that could be used for added damage when fighting unarmed, and he possessed enhanced senses, such as how he was able to detect Quinlan Vos through the scent of charred ozone put off by Vos's ignited lightsaber, allowing him to pinpoint Quinlan despite the fact that he had been using the Force to conceal his whereabouts. Furthermore, Kukrok's physiology grants an increased resistance to the extreme low temperatures in the environment, provided by a thick layer of blubber insulation. Addressing his actual physical output, Kukrok was very impressive. Despite being exhausted from an extended battlefield engagement, he was still able to briefly contend with General Grievous. His use of strength was seen in his fight with Quinlan Vos, in which he was able to thrash his enemy about with unarmed strikes. His speed was also impressive, often appearing as a blur in combat, and his agility was also capable, allowing him to avoid blaster fire and pull off some rather impressive use of acrobatics, and also keep pace with the Sarge Ventress. But most of all, Kukruk's greatest asset was his phenomenal resilience. At the conclusion of his battle with Grievous, he managed to survive being slashed across the chest with a lightsaber, and he has even been known to continue fighting and remain on the run after being shot in the chest by blaster fire. His ability to survive mortal wounds was further bolstered by his physiological ability to fall into a hibernative state and slow all bodily functions to a crawl. At the end of the day, it would be foolish to underestimate this Jedi Master. This is decidedly easy to call, but is by no means a landslide edge. Kukruk simply holds the vast majority of advantages in this category, being considerably stronger, more durable, at least as capable in the field of endurance, and equal if not greater speed. While an argument could be made that Oppo's serpentine physiology could grant him a superior level of agility and dexterity, Kukruk has already proven several times that he can hang with foes nimbler than himself. So as a result, when looking at the respective demonstrations of physicality, the scales tend to tip in the Whippet Jedi Master's favour. Kukruk gets the physical edge.
Round 2.
Oppo Rancisis was regarded as one of the Order's best combatants, his skill so formidable that even the masterful duelist and bloodthirsty beast Sora Bulk opted not to take Oppo head on, and instead chose to distract the Jedi Master with a dozen Anzadi Masters, before backstabbing him. All this despite the fact that Oppo was physically and mentally drained. Oppo is a dedicated Jedi Consular, a dedicated Force wielder, and along with his affinity for utilizing Force-based attacks in combat, the most logical assumption would be that Master Rancisis specializes in the sixth form of lightsaber combat, Naiman. The most versatile and balanced of all lightsaber forms, Naiman is a jack-of-all-trades style that takes bits and pieces from the previous forms. Given its relaxed nature, Naiman was designed to allow a Jedi to maintain at least a reasonable level of effectiveness in combat, with relatively little need for practice, allowing them to divert their attention to other factors, such as their studies of the Force. Further adding to this form's versatility, Naiman also provides training in the use of incorporated Force attacks and the use of Jarkai dual blade fencing. Although Oppo has never been known to utilize this style of fighting, his use of incorporated Force powers is easily seen in his combat performance. Furthermore, Oppo has been witnessed making excellent use of unarmed combat, and possessed a great affinity for chaining such attacks into his overall offensive, even defeating a Thespian Blood Monarch in unarmed combat. While many have considered this to be a use of the fourth form Ataru, the acrobatics attributed to this form simply aren't an option for a member of a race with a serpentine-shaped body. Though it is still possible that Rancisis had a grasp of its principles, and it was a testament to his tactical insight that better allowed him to bolster his offensive prowess. In addition, Oppo is considered to be one of the Jedi Order's greatest tacticians. As such, he personally coordinated many battles throughout the course of the war. While he has never been depicted in a lightsaber duel, his fight with the Anzadi is in of itself a testament to his ability as a fighter, especially considering the fact that he was able to maintain unwavering concentration despite his extensive fatigue, and the fact that Anzadi are noted for their prowess at taking on Jedi, and have been described as seemingly untouchable. In conclusion, Oppo Rancisis is without a doubt one of his Order's greatest warriors, even despite his relatively limited exposure. Kukruk was not dedicated to lightsaber dueling, instead being typically optimized to battlefield engagements with blaster-wielding assailants. His preferred form has not been confirmed, however, he has demonstrated enough for us to build a set of statistics around him. Time and again he has demonstrated his affinity for fighting with overwhelming speed, skills in unarmed combat, use of a reversed hand grip, and an aptitude for redirectional blaster fire. These traits are typically associated with Forms 4 and 5. Form 4 Atari was a highly offensive form with heavy focus on speed and agility, primarily designed for overwhelming opponents in single combat, with force-assisted acrobatics and the integration of physical strikes, as well as the use of dual-blade fencing for those who wish to study this technique. Form 5 was created as an answer to the lack of offense attributed to Form 3, with a heavy focus on defense and immediate counterattack. it had two variations, Shien and Gemso. However, unlike Surisu, Shien was dedicated to redirecting blaster fire back at the shooter, whereas Gemso was designed for lightsaber dueling, and was dedicated to the use of heavy-handed power attacks. Over time, Kukruk proved himself as a viable combatant, having defeated multiple Yinchori, and even managed to briefly hold his own against General Grievous whilst extensively fatigued from a previous battlefield engagement. He also managed to fight Quinlan Vos seemingly on even terms, and most impressively, he managed to hold his own against Asajj Ventress. However, this feat is often taken out of context, in that many believe that this was a rather short fight as it was only depicted over the course of 3 comic panels. This is not the case. Ventress engaged Kukruk at the same time that Mace Windu confronted Sora Bulk. The comic focused on their duel as opposed to Kukruk's fight with Ventress. Kukruk wasn't defeated until after the duel between Mace and Bulk was concluded. Essentially, Kukruk held his own against the deadly assassin Asajj Ventress, the same amount of time that Sora Bulk held his own against Mace Windu. Furthermore, Kukruk has demonstrated a considerable affinity for marksmanship, whether employing a blaster or a longbow. It should be noted that Kukruk's anger can on occasion get the better of him, as it did during his battle with Quinlan Vos, within which he became enraged after failing to prevent Senator Viento's death, or when he discovered the clone's intention to execute a group of Jedi younglings at the commencement of Order 66, although this should be expected as his race are noted for being aggressive in nature, even if Kukruk is more often than not the exception to the rule. Even so, such aggression only made Kukruk that much more dangerous, but even without such rage empowering him, Kukruk is almost certainly highly capable, whether he is engaging large groups of enemies on the battlefield, or against a deadly lightsaber-wielding opponent. While Oppo's performance against the Nzori assassins is indeed impressive, even despite his extensive fatigue, this performance shouldn't be too far exactly outside of Kukruk's capability, as he too can perform well against an even more dangerous opponent whilst extensively fatigued. Furthermore, Kukruk simply has more demonstrations of skill against a wider array of high-caliber opponents, along with better performance overall. As such, Kukruk gets a noticeable, but not drastic edge as a martial artist and lightsaber duelist.
Round 3.
Oppo Rancisis was considered to be one of the greatest masters of the Force in his day, his repertoire consisting of both basic and unorthodox powers. His use of physical augmentation was capable, boosting his physicality to the superhuman levels for which the Jedi were famed, though there was nothing overwhelmingly noticeable about his application. His use of telekinesis was basic and proficient, able to chain various telekinetic shoves into his overall offensive. One of his more obscure talents was a power known as Malacia. This power was used to alter a target's equilibrium, inducing dizziness and nausea, allowing the user to incapacitate a target without any permanent harm. But most of all, Oppo was most renowned for his skills as a telepath. Renowned as one of the greatest users of the art of battle meditation, Oppo was capable of using this power to bolster the morale of his allies in combat. He has been known to spend weeks to months using this power, even going so far as to attempt to cover the entire war as a whole, only being stopped by the influence of a dark void, that being the influence of Darth Sidious. In addition, Oppo has been credited with the ability to utilize the inwardly directed variation that is Battle Mind. This variation allows the user to boost their own morale in single combat, improving their personal drive to win. As you can expect from such a highly skilled telepath, more basic applications, such as the Jedi Mind Trick and the Beast Trick ability, should be well within Oppo's capabilities. Suffice it to say, Master Rancisis was a very worthy master of the Force. Kukruk may have not been a dedicated combative Force wielder, but this did not translate into a lack of ability or unwillingness to use his powers. His use of physical augmentation was excellent, allowing him to move with impeccable speed and strength, such as how he decapitated several Yinchori in one swift move, or how he's been able to overpower foes seemingly easily. His use of this power extended to his ability to bolster his durability, such as how he has withstood the impacts of multiple high-level falls. His use of telepathy was basic, but able, capable of employing the basic Jedi Mind Trick along with the Beast Trick ability. During the Legacy comics, Kukruk was noted as being versed in battle meditation, allowing him to bolster the morale of companions in single combat. However, it is unknown if his ability with this power was before or after his ascension to Grand Master. In addition, Kukruk was well versed in the use of Jedi healing and hibernation trances, which when paired off with his biological ability to do so as well, it comes to no surprise as to how this Jedi Master gained a reputation for being almost unkillable. Furthermore, Kukruk possessed a great deal of magnitude with telekinesis. He has been witnessed scattering several Yin Troi in a single telekinetic wave, and even managed to pull a ship out of the sky. While he has never been witnessed using such abilities in combat with opposing lightsaber duelists, this doesn't detract from the potential that they have to affect a fight with an opposing force wielder. Overall, Kukruk may have been more utilitarian than combative, but he was just as capable in either use of the force. I find this a rather interesting comparison to make. Here we have a typical Jedi Consular versus a typical Jedi Guardian. While Oppo's combative uses of his powers have been largely standard, and their effectiveness would have likely been significantly greater than what they already were during his final fight since he was fatigued, this does not change the fact that he is primarily a telepath. Kukruk may not be overly inclined to use his powers in single combat, but the magnitude and therefore significant potential for how they could affect the fight is really quite something. Malaysia wouldn't be of much use to Oppo unless he manages to catch Kukruk off guard, and that's assuming that he is actually weak enough to be affected by it at all. Oppo may be able to bolster his own morale, though this would do little to offset Kukruk. So overall, I feel that Kukruk's greater telekinetic magnitude is what awards him the advantage in this matchup. Simply put, when push comes to shove, Oppo's telekinesis would be overpowered and he would be driven back. Kukruk gets the edge as a force wielder.
Round 4.
Oppo Rancisis carried a standard green-bladed lightsaber featuring a blade emitter flanking one side of the hilt, and a slightly longer than average hilt length to accommodate his large hands. Kukruk's lightsaber was green-bladed and slightly oversized in length, better fitting into his large hands. In other words, a fairly typical lightsaber for a member of his species. The weapons carried by both combatants use an identical function, and neither possess a rather unusual or unorthodox characteristic that overly affects this battle. Neither will be given the edge in weaponry.
Final round.
Despite most of the edges being given to Kukruk, this match is by no means one-sided. Beginning as a pure lightsaber duel, Kukruk unleashes a devastating assault, his superior skill and strength driving Oppo back. After a while of batting off Kukruk's attacks, Oppo uses his tactical insight to gain an advantage. Utilizing his superior dexterity, Oppo spins around the whipped Jedi Master and knocks him off balance with a flick of his tail. At this point, Oppo unleashes his own offensive, utilizing his greater dexterity to outmaneuver his enemy. After off-balancing Kukruk with a force push, he follows up with a glancing blow that grazes Kukruk's shoulder. In a fit of anger, Kukruk unleashes a massive telekinetic attack, hurling Rancisis across the arena. Kukruk retakes the offensive, throwing twice as much ferocity into his attack. Still dazed from the blast, Oppo fails to keep pace and is soon met with a decisive blow, ending the fight. And thus I declare Kukruk, the survivor, the victor. Well, thanks for watching as always, guys. Feel free to leave your thoughts below. Also, be sure to stay tuned, as I'll be releasing another tribute video with a teaser for my next crossover matchup soon. See you later.